we need the clapper.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. This is the URL Club podcast. As you can see, we have a packed house here tonight. It's not just me. I do have our lovely producer and my girlfriend.
Yes, I am right here.
MFizz with me here. Yeah, since we have a little bit of a skeleton crew tonight, I think we're gonna do something a little different. Or I guess this is kind of par for the course now.
But it's not too different than what we usually do. It's just like we're both retro gamer heads, and none of the other crews like that. So we're like, hey, let's rank some video game consoles.
Yeah,
all the video game consoles.
Yeah, all the video game consoles.
I'm thinking because obviously, like, there's consoles here we have, there's consoles here we don't have. I think we could rate it based on our generalized idea of what the consoles are if we don't own one. How much would we want to own it for chance?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've also, like, even if I don't own some of these, I've played a lot of them.
Yeah.
And, like, I've played ports of stuff from them. So I have an idea, I think, for a lot of them.
Well, up first, is this the Series X or
That's
the
Series S?
That's the digital one, right?
Can we get, like, another tier below F, honestly, and just put that... Not that it's bad, just, like, I think let's rate that and the S together. Like, just make it, like, a...
Oh.
Well, you're in F right now.
Oh no, it was like that, right?
It doesn't matter. Just put it like NA. Yeah, like, and I think we can put the S there. We'll talk about it with the Series X. I think they're weird systems.
It's the same one, but it doesn't have a disk drive, right?
No, so it's actually a little bit different. Basically, the Series X is trying to target 4K with everything. Mm-hmm. That
no, we're already on it.
Makes stuff in HD and like upscales.
Is this a Series X?
Yeah,
let's
the Series X.
Let's just do that one first.
I think the Series X gets a C or D.
Okay.
I have a Series X. I like it. I think here's the thing, right? I think Game Pass is great value, but like that's not the console. You can't really evaluate the console based on Game Pass alone. But if you're paying that $15 a month, you can basically never buy a game, or I guess it's $20 now. You can basically never buy a game and have like all of the exclusives. You can have a bunch of old games. They cycle stuff in and out. Like, I think if you're trying to game on a budget, this is honestly probably the best current gen console.
But why would you buy it over a computer?
That I guess that's where things come in. There's not many reasons to buy it over the computer other than the convenience of a console. I also think if you're like really trying to go budget, you're probably buying the S over the X.
What is the S exactly? It's like a streaming box, or
no? So basically, it plays everything at lower resolutions. It's kind of like a lower horsepower version of the X, but it runs all the same games.
Okay.
The main appeal of the S is it's really small, and compared to it's like priced competitively with like the Switch. So it's like if you have little kids, or if you want, like, I've seen this at fighting game tournaments, people will like bring them in a backpack with like a little fold up monitor and they'll just pop it out. But yeah, I honestly think the Series X and S get too much hate. But they're also like not great without Game Pass. If the systems with Game Pass was on here, I'd make it like a C or maybe even a B. But
yeah, I will say I do really like the controller. It's one of my favorite controllers, but I use it for PC, which I love. I love old Xbox. We'll get to old Xbox later, but I don't see any reason for me to get an Xbox Series X at any point.
No, it's very. The only reason you would do it is it does technically have better home theater support. So if you're trying to play Blu-rays, and you want like top quality and like the best output for audio and stuff, it is a better Blu-ray player than the PlayStation 5, and it competes with Blu-ray players that are like almost double the price. Like there are reasons to get it. It's just much more niche. And I think like if you have a PC, you should just get Game Pass on that, or like just play Xbox games on that. But I don't think that like if you really don't want a PC, I still think you're getting a decent system.
Oh, then what's this one right here? Is that the same exact one?
That's the same one. Just drag that next to... Yeah, I don't know why they have duplicates. There's a bunch of duplicates. Actually, the whole thing is duplicated. The whole thing is duplicated over, it looks like.
Sweet. All right, well, Dreamcast. Sega
Dreamcast. I don't own this one, but this is like, I think of retro consoles, the one I most want to own. This or the N64.
I like the aesthetic, and I like a lot of the games on Dreamcast. But the thing that holds me back is the controller.
The controller does seem clunky.
It's clunky, and it has the hard like thumbstick, and I don't really like that. I don't like how the D-pad's right under the thumbstick either. How there's not two thumbsticks, and the button layout's like strange on it. I think if I remember right, hold on, let me see what the button layout is. It's strange.
It's a standard diamond.
A, B, X, Y. I guess. I think it might be the colors then, just because I'm so used to Xbox, which isn't their fault. But yeah, they died. So
I mean, it died, but the general consensus is that it was one of the more powerful consoles of that era.
oh yeah, and the cable comes out the bottom. That's
Yeah,
weird.
the cable comes out the bottom. There's some oddities with it. It's also if you bought this console in America, you were getting like half the experience. The Dreamcast was the first console to like connect to the internet for real. But that was like a Japan only thing. I do think though that it has like a lot of incredibly interesting and good exclusives.
I thought it connected to internet here, no? Because I know Phantasy Star Online was really big out here.
Oh, maybe it did here.
I think it did.
I don't think it had the full feature though.
Yeah.
In
yeah.
Japan, you
It
could
didn't
like
have,
basically run Windows
it did have
on
like
it.
Sega Channel and stuff like that.
Yeah. We didn't have Sega Channel, and you couldn't run Windows on it.
Yeah.
Whereas like I know a lot of people in Japan, this is like the first inklings of Windows computers, and I also think like I was saying, I think there's a lot of strong exclusives on this one. You got Sonic Adventure, you got Shenmue, you got Seaman.
Oh yeah, Seaman.
Yeah.
That one's your favorite.
But yeah, I don't know. I'd say probably D, but like I think if it had survived, it could go higher.
I would say C, honestly. Like this is our personal preference. Like a Dreamcast would be cool to have. I'd rather have a Dreamcast over a Series X.
I mean, I think I would too, but also like thinking about the experience of owning that console at the time, like most of the people bought it in America and then support was dead for it within 2 months.
Yeah.
Like objectively, it was like a nightmarish console to get, whereas the Xbox Series X like might be tied to a subscription service, but I think it's like still pretty decent.
I think I would still put it at C. Because the games that it did have were like cool.
Honestly, thinking about it, I'd put both of them at C. Yeah, like I think if you, like I said, if you have Game Pass, I think Xbox is great, and I think most people are buying it for that reason. And it comes with like a year or something. So PSP.
I never owned a PSP. I have no experience with it. Oh, look, we have two PSP models. We have the original, and I think that's the PSP Slim, right?
Can we put the Slim just like in NA again? We'll talk about it like based on, because the Slim. I mean, I like the Slim less than the regular.
It was like dumpy, right? Like it barely worked. Like it was like it felt really cheap,
fragile,
right? Yeah.
And it felt cheap comparatively. And it didn't really save much space. Like I don't know. I think organizing it the way it's laid out there, it doesn't make too much sense. But the PSP I think is pretty decent. I think it's like, I think my biggest issue with it is that it's not nearly as good as like a lot of Nintendo handhelds at that point. There's some interesting exclusives for it. But it's hard to like put it too high. I'm going to say B personally.
Okay. I've never played one, so this is all you.
Yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of games for it that I do still like. But I just don't think it compares to like the Game Boy series or the DS series or, you know, any of those things. But we'll get there.
Okay. These are the three different models of the 360. Oop. So should we do the white fat boy first?
Sure.
Because, yeah, let's do white fat boy first. I don't know anyone who had a working white fat 360 for that long.
So I had one that worked for a while, but there was like a period of time where I would have to intentionally wrap it in a towel to overheat it to get it to resolder itself, and then dangle it out of a window in a towel to cool it.
That's insanity.
I have a lot of nostalgia for the big fat one. But yeah, it objectively belongs in C probably.
Yeah. But
this Slim though is like an S.
Yeah. No, the Xbox 360 Slim is great. That's one of my favorite consoles.
If your fat 360 worked the whole generation,
you're lucky.
Also probably an S. But like, you know, the hardware of it is whatever.
I think it didn't have wireless controllers yet, right? Wasn't that one still
No, it supported
connected?
wireless
Did it?
controllers.
Okay.
It supported them, but I don't think it came with one.
Did it have Wi-Fi, or did you still have to use a connection?
I think there was an antenna you bought,
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
That makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, I think you could buy an antenna. And that's why I like the slim version. The slim version is just it. You know, all of that stuff was wired out by then.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it worked. It actually worked. My 360 still works great.
there's also the 360 like Elite, which was like the black version of the big fat white one. That came out between those two, and that one I feel like it's not on here, but that would be like an A, right? Like you still had some of the awkward shit. It's not in there.
Yeah, I don't see
You
it.
still had some of the awkward shit, but it didn't break like the big fat white ones from launch. And then the newest 360 thing, I feel like
Well, it had like a smaller hard drive or something, right? Like, what was the
yeah, but
benefit
people
of
weren't
buying
really
that one?
downloading games. There wasn't a big benefit to it.
Yeah.
It was just smaller. They released it towards the end of the life cycle of the system. I think it was just kind of meant to be a budget console. I'd say sure. I
Like
mean, I'd put
B.
it in NA personally. I feel like the stuff we're putting down there is stuff where it's like another version of a console.
Okay.
Or it doesn't make sense to talk about because like I've never played that slim version. From my understanding, it's basically the same as the other slim. It's just like smaller. It's like we could put it next to it if you want, but it to me, from my understanding, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I'll just keep it down there. That's fine. With the game, all right. What about the Game Boy Advances? 'Cause I do want to rate both of these
The
separately.
clamshell and the regular and separately.
Yes. So I think they both have their positives and negatives.
I think the clamshell goes S. I think the regular one goes like A.
Yeah, that's fair. I think modded, but that's going in and changing out the dark screen. I would prefer honestly to play on this because I don't know when the last time you played a GBA clamshell one is. I still have mine, but that thing is
They're thin.
in adult hands. They're tiny.
It's not too much thicker than the analog pocket.
It's
about the same.
It's a
form
little
factor.
small. It's smaller even. Like I would say it's honestly maybe only like that wide. It's not so much like the thickness of it, it's the wideness. So your fingers are really like tight on that thing. But after a while you do get used to it. The D-pad and the buttons just feel good.
Yeah, I think it feels good. I also think it's like the screen's protected. Like I hate throwing the standard Game Boy in a bag.
And the thing is durable.
The clamshell is like strong and it's just a solid system.
I've spilled fucking soda on it. I've left it in a drawer for like 3 years and turned it on and it still worked.
I also just think like the Game Boy Advance in general is like one of the best handheld systems of all time. You could play all the Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Everything like looked better. The screens were a lot better. Even the base one that we're putting in A. Still a huge step up over the color in the original Game Boy.
Yeah.
Just a great line of systems. And we don't have the micro on here, but the micro I'd probably put in A as well.
You want to do the other Game Boys right now while we're
Yeah, let's talk about them.
Okay, so I've never actually played on either of these before.
For me, they're both like the colors of B, and the original Game Boy is like. It's tough, right? Because are we talking about like at the time they came out?
No,
Or are we talking about like now?
I'm thinking about more of how I would like to play. Because we're both 90s kids. So it's like we kind of like could have played like... There's consoles on here that are older than us that I would put in S.
Sure.
Even now. I'm thinking of it more in retrospective. Like how much would I want to own an original Game Boy?
I would never really
now?
want to own an original Game Boy.
Yeah.
Because it would be more comfortable to play on the Advance or the Color. And I also think it's like there's systems like the Analog Pocket now.
And the game library for the original Game Boy, there's a lot, but there's not a lot to go back to that still like feels good.
Yeah,
like,
no,
a lot
like
of it
everything
feels
that was great
clunky.
on the Game Boy got turned into a better version on the Color or the Advance. So for me, it's like probably a C or D. But like I also like at the time probably would have been so high up. 'Cause it's like you're finally like it's not to dog on the system. It's just like I can't imagine a reason to buy it now.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be a D for me too, honestly. There's a couple games I like. I really like the Game Boy Donkey Kong game. I like the Wario Land games.
There's a lot
Mario
of fun
Land
games
2.
for it. It's just like you can play them on the Color.
Yeah.
If we're talking about like a piece of hardware, they're all backwards compatible. Like it's besides the micro.
Yeah. I'd get a Game Boy Pocket. I don't know if I'd go for the old gray brick though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I am too, and like I also think it'd be one of those things where it would be more of an oddity to have than like something I'd want to use.
Yeah. Yeah, this looks like it's the only DS on here.
Is
So
that the?
it's the DSi.
Is there the 3DS on here
I don't
too?
s-
Or are we?
yeah,
Is this a
3DS is
stand-in
here
for-
too. So those are going to be separate There's 3DS
Okay,
right
cool. So are we just making this stand-in for DS
here.
as a whole?
Yeah, just DS in general.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to separate my nostalgia from the sort of
I mean,
objective truth of it, but I do think the DS is an S.
really? I never got super into DS, but I didn't get mine until like a little later.
I also I think with all Nintendo systems this is a thing, but I think it depends on what you want to play.
Yeah. I always preferred the Game Boy libraries as a kid, the GBA libraries as a kid.
Yeah.
The DS games I played I really liked, but I was never itching to play my DS the way I was always itching to play my GBA. Like some of the stuff on DS was a little too like gimmicky in the same way the Wii's a little gimmicky.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. I do think the kind of my big argument for being an S is you get that whole Game Boy catalog as long as you're not on the DSi.
Yeah.
You get all the full backwards compatibility, and there's like some really, really great games on the DS.
What were some of your favorite DS games?
So all of Dragon Quest up through 6, and all of Final Fantasy up through 5 or 6 as well got full remakes on the DS, and they're pretty much like, as far as I'm concerned, like not all of them are the definitive version, but a lot of them are really strong.
I think Chrono Trigger did too, right?
Chrono Trigger did as well. Like the DS was a powerhouse for RPGs. There's a lot of great tactical RPGs. I think like, you know, the golden age of Pokemon was definitely before the DS, but the DS had like the last great Pokemon games with Diamond and Pearl and
It's Platinum, right?
and Platinum, and then also Black and White, and Black and White 2, which are like super underrated gems. I just think like maybe it comes with the caveat that it's like a lot of RPGs, but I do think the DS for me like belongs right next to the Game Boy Advance, purely because it's got the full backwards compatibility as well. They're really durable, and you get like just a ton of games on it.
I think me personally, I'd put it in B. So you want to meet in the middle at A?
Sure.
I like the DS a lot. I used it mostly for Flipnote Studio a lot.
Right. Yeah.
Because I started with a DS Lite, and I didn't like playing my Game Boy games on it because I didn't like how they stuck out at the bottom.
That's fair.
And I always had my GBA anyway, so I never had to. And then
See,
I got a
I
DS.
kind of like embraced it as a full, just like this is my Game Boy and my DS now.
Did you still have your Game Boy after? Or did you trade it in?
I still had it, but I did mostly play on the DS.
No, I mostly played on my GBA, like even after. I just like the GBA. I like how the GBA feels to play more too. And not to say that I mostly use the DS for platformers. Like I played like Mario
64 on DS is great.
That's
yeah.
how I played Mario 64 as a kid because I didn't have an N64. I like
Yeah,
WarioWare
same.
a
That was
lot.
how I first played it.
What else did I own on it? Maybe I just didn't own enough on DS.
There's a lot of great like Fire Emblem type games on there, and like tactical RPGs.
I wasn't an RPG kid. That's probably.
I mean, that's not an RPG, but I guess it kind of is.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
strategy.
Yeah, I didn't play anything like that.
or like
I just didn't
tactical
use, I didn't use
RPG.
my DS much in general. Maybe it should go in S.
Yeah, I feel like it just belongs up there. If only because it has all the Game Boy games as well. And sure, you can play the color and original, but like, I don't know. To me, it's like you get the Game Boy Advance and the DS, and they're both like iconic libraries.
Okay, 3DS though.
Probably like a B.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say no. I bought a 3DS off of somebody in like 2017, 2018, and it was the first model.
yeah.
Nothing is just not comfortable to play on. Like my thumbstick, I'm sure this isn't true for like a lot of the others. My thumbstick keeps falling off. I like Gorilla Glue it back every other like year.
I've never had that, but I do have my fair amount of issues with it. I've had two 3DSs. The first one, the screen started like wobbling. The hinge came loose on it. I also think like making it thinner than the DS was a mistake.
Yeah.
Like I think having the extra beef gives you a lot more to hold on to with it.
You have the XL also though, right?
Yeah, but it's still like too thin. It feels like holding like a nunchuck for the or not a nunchuck, like the Switch Joy-Cons. Sometimes there's just like not enough to hold there, especially if you take it off and you're like doing the like mode where it's flipped on its side. I just don't think it's as comfortable a system to use as like the original DS. I don't think the catalog is quite as strong either.
Yeah, that's that period of Nintendo is when I really kind of dropped out of gaming for a bit because I just like we'll get to the Wii U when we get to the Wii U. But that period of time and just the games that were coming out, I just wasn't into it. I didn't play games for a couple years because of what was coming out.
I think like looking back on that system, most of my favorite games for the 3DS are remakes.
Yeah, I like the Zelda ones.
Like I like the
Ocarina of
Zelda
Time.
remakes, and I like the Dragon Quest remakes on it. I like the remakes on it. I also think it's like a lot of the big appeal for me of a lot of Nintendo handhelds was like Pokemon and RPG stuff. And like there was Bravely Default and like some other, or I think Bravely Second. I think Bravely Default was actually a DS game. But there was like some gems.
There's a Monster Hunter game on it, right?
Yeah, I think the Monster Hunter 3DS games are pretty strong. I do think like Monster Hunter always shined more on home console though. Up until the Switch.
My ex was really into her 3DS. I remember she liked Monster Hunter and she liked not Hyrule Warriors. That wasn't on there, right?
It was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Hyrule Warriors, Animal Crossing, obviously, that was my first Animal Crossing, was Animal Crossing New Leaf. Well, honestly, having Smash Bros on a handheld at the time was really cool too.
Yeah.
I also had Smash.
I think there's some stuff that's really neat about it, but I just don't think it compares to the original one in terms of like library or comfort or reliability. I also think like I don't know a single person who actually plays with a 3D on.
Yeah, me neither. I turned it on when I first got it. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I turned it off.
Yeah, like the core gimmick of the system like kind of was a flop.
Yeah.
And I think you can tell that because they started selling the 2DSs.
I think the 2DS outsold the 3DS, right?
I'm not sure.
No, yeah.
Point stands either way though.
Oh, look, first model 3DS. It has its own separate thing.
C, D.
I kind of want to put it in D. I fucking hate playing on this thing.
I also think it's like if we're talking about like the year that came out in, like there's fucking nothing on that system for years. Like it took a long time for the 3DS to become anything valuable.
Like, I'm trying to remember exactly. I'm gonna pull up what it looks like because the button layout's like funky. There's been multiple times I've accidentally like turned off my game because of. I gotta see this.
I think it's also it's like you talk about like the 3DS now too. There's certain games that require the new 3DS upgrade.
Yeah, and I remember now. Yeah, so on the regular DS, start and select's right here. On this, they put it here, and they're not really buttons either. Like little like
they're look capacitive. Like,
yeah, and so like instinctively, because I had an original DS, I would hit this to pause, and it would like bring me back to the menu. I'd lose all my progress. That happened like multiple times.
The D-pad placement also feels awkward on it.
Yeah, the buttons feel a little like too soft. There's not a clickiness to them. I really, really don't like this model.
I think the new 3DS XL is probably the best 3DS model.
That has a little extra.
Yeah, and there's
how does this feel? Because I've never played on that. I know that's another stick, but
it feels fine.
Okay.
It doesn't feel great, but like the games that use it are kind of limited.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, look at that.
It's also the new 3DS has like higher processing power.
Look, they put them right here on the side. They knew they fucked
there
up.
were games exclusive to it. Yeah, no, I just think like it was a system that got stronger throughout its life.
Yeah.
It's also like in terms of moddability, people really love modding 3DSs now. Because you can play that whole Game Boy catalog on it, original DS. If you're talking about buying it in retrospect, I think it's the new 3DS is a great purchase.
Yeah. Okay, Sega Genesis.
I don't really know enough about this one to like start stacking up against Sega consoles too much.
I had a Genesis for a little bit, but I didn't have a ton of games on it. I will say that controller is it looks clunky, but it's
It
a lot
feels
bigger.
good.
It's a lot bigger than it looks. Yeah, it almost feels like playing on an original Xbox controller sometimes because of how like thick it is. And I actually kind of like it more than the NES controller.
Yeah,
It has some gem games. I really like a lot of the shooters. I like
the Sonic games
the
on it are
Sonic
great.
games, obviously. Yeah, there's a gun. I really like Gunstar Heroes. What's the one with all your base are belong to us? That game's unironically
Yeah, that
really
one's
fun.
fun.
Zero Wing, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. Like it has a good like set of games. Honestly, I used to like kind of sleep on it. In the last couple of years, I've gone back. I don't think I would put it higher than B tier though.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I do. I do like some Genesis now and then though.
There are a lot of Genesis games that I find fun to come back to.
All right, we got the two big boys. We got the two PS2s.
I am gonna say the fat PS2 goes A, and the other one goes B, or maybe S and A.
I think S and A, yeah. Because I have so we each recently bought a PS2. Tess has the slim and I have the fat one. And I swear half the times we put a game in her PS2, like the game just doesn't want to read. We have to like open it and close it and open it and close it over and over again.
It
Get that
does
dish to,
happen
like,
now
work.
and then. I don't
Yeah.
have a ton of problems with it though overall. Like a lot of it is kind of what I expect from retro consoles.
Yeah, once it's working, it's great.
Yeah.
She also bought it from an actual game store. I bought mine off Facebook Marketplace. So mine just came from a house, and I've had zero problems with it. It was just like a well-loved PS2 that some dude probably bought back then.
Yeah, it's I think the PS2 is kind of a weird system. Like I said, I'm kind of on the fence between S and A and B. I think like I had a lot of great games at that period of time, but I also like when I think about PS2 exclusives, I don't think like a lot of like enduring franchises were born. I think there's some like
Yeah,
God of War kind of held
God
on.
of War, Jack and Daxter,
Jack and
Ratchet
Daxter.
and Clank.
We're not getting new Jack and Daxter
I'm
that
not getting
much.
you Jack
though.
and Daxter. They were good at the time though. A lot of people, everyone who had a PS2 loved Jack and Daxter. And all like Sly Cooper and all those PS2 platformers.
Yeah.
Not only that, you also had a lot of the PS2 horror stuff. You had the Silent Hills.
Yeah,
had,
I guess it's just like when I'm thinking in terms of like exclusives, I feel like it's not the strongest of that generation.
I had a Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the
The Team
Colossus is,
Ecos.
yeah, I mean Team Eco is I have a lot of love for.
I had the Ape Escapes.
I
That
also
was great.
just think like the PS2 is not the most durable hardware.
It
Like
isn't.
they are like known to be glitchy.
Yeah. There are specific games that
The
were built.
controllers feel a little awkward.
The
like-
controller's a little clicky, but there are versions of games that do play best on PS2.
That's true, but I think that's because of the ubiquity of the system. That's the other thing. The PS2 got new launches to like 2015.
Yeah.
Like it
was there
just
for a while.
because it sold so many copies because it was like the cheapest DVD player for a long time.
Yeah.
Like I think it was great value at the time.
When I was a kid, I was envious of everyone who had a PS2. I wanted a PS2 so bad.
Yeah. No, PS2s are cool. Like I have a lot of love for the PS2. I think of that generation, it is like my personal least favorite. But I understand why it was like the huge success it was.
I think well, we're getting to my console now. Objectively, I'll always have a soft spot for the original Xbox. I do think the PS2 is a stronger console though. I think the original Xbox is, even though it's an S to me, it'll always be an S to me, but it's an A tier console at best.
I think the thing is like the Xbox everything that you could play on Xbox that was on PS2, almost all of it ran better on Xbox.
Yes, there are some exceptions, but that's true for the most part. Metal Gear does not run great on Xbox. There's a whole level
Games that were primarily targeted at the Japanese market generally.
You want to know something funny? So a game I had when I was a kid that I could never beat was it L.A. Crime Streets of L.A. or something? True Crime Streets of L.A. There is a boss near the end of the game, and on the Xbox version you can't beat that boss, or you beat him and then it just starts over. Like you cannot beat the Xbox version of that game.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's like PS2 has that. PS2 has the better version of San Andreas, surprisingly. It has the better version of the Metal Gear games. But on your other like basic, the load times on Xbox are a lot better. Any multi-platform game that wasn't designed for specific consoles better on Xbox.
They're a little bit more reliable hardware.
More reliable hardware-wise. The controller is I'm used to it, but it is. I feel like it is easier to get back into than a PS2 controller. The clicky little
I think the
beast.
PS2 controller feels bad.
It feels small. Like I didn't
Um,
remember it feing that small when I got one recently. It's small and clicky, and I don't
yeah,
like how all the buttons are analog. It's strange.
yeah, it's a strange system to like talk about in retrospect.
Yeah. Xbox also
'Cause
had a DVD player, but you had to buy a controller to use it, which is really dumb.
yeah, I think if Xbox had shipped with a DVD controller and come out at the same time, I think that generation probably would have been a lot more even in terms of numbers.
There's a lot of great Xbox exclusives
Um,
too, but it's their games nobody cares about anymore.
yeah,
Besides Halo. Yet it had Halo and then like weird shit like Blinks the Time Sweeper. My favorite what's that fucking racing game I make you play all the time? Mad Dash Racing. Yeah, game's lit.
That
Mad
game's
Dash
fun.
Racing. Oh, there's so many. I'm like having a brain fart right now. But there's a couple more.
There's a lot of fun ones. I mean, Xbox was like my second console, like after my GameCube. And we eventually did get a PS2 just because my parents wanted another DVD player, and that was a way to have that, and they would do anything to get me to shut up. But like the original Xbox, I think, is like in my heart above the PS2 in a lot of ways.
Well, you didn't say what our favorite PS2 games were. So say some of your favorite PS2 games, some of your favorite Xbox games.
As a kid, I loved Sly Cooper. I never really got into the Final Fantasies on console as a kid. But in retrospect, I love a lot of those.
When did you play 10?
I haven't played 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 10 is one of the holes in my backlog right now. I have it on PS2 back there. But I think like in retrospect, probably my favorite game from that system is Shadow of the Colossus. That or like one of the Metal Gear games from it.
I really like Silent Hill 3. Xbox got Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 4, but it didn't get Silent Hill 3, which is my favorite of the old school ones. God of War 1 and 2.
God of War are fun.
Yeah, Devil May Cry. I love a lot.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of good Capcom games in that period.
GameCube also got like Beautiful Joe and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think, can we talk about GameCube now just to tie it in with
we'll say your
this
favorite
generation?
Xbox games first, and then we'll bring up the GameCube.
I remember as a kid, I played a lot of the PGA Tour games on Xbox.
Okay.
And God, what else? I played a lot of sports games on my Xbox with my dad specifically.
I played a lot of NBA Street.
Yeah, I think I also Xbox is where I first played like Grand Theft Auto. And like it's not as good of a port, but you know that version's still nostalgic to me.
Yeah, Vice City and GTA 3 are great on Xbox. It's just
yeah,
San
Vice
Andreas
City
and
and San Andreas are the ones I had. I never played 3 until later. But yeah, no, I understand why the PS2 has to go above Xbox.
Yeah.
But I personally, and I think you personally prefer the Xbox.
I do. I love the Xbox.
And I also think like in retrospect, the Xbox is like if you're collecting these two systems and the games on both, like the Xbox version is going to be cheaper.
Holy shit, dude! Like collecting for the Xbox
better.
is great.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for not buying an Xbox. Thank you everyone for getting PS2s because now I'm reaping the benefits of cheap ass games.
Yeah,
we'll go to our fucking local game shop and Tess will get like 2 games for $70, and I'll be walking out with like a pile of 10 for the same amount of money.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of the stuff I want is like kind of more niche.
Yeah.
Like
And I'm a PS2 collector now too because I have one finally, but the prices on all right now it's time to get to it. The prices on GameCube are fucking ridiculous now.
For me, GameCube is S. And I have a case to make about why I objectively think it belongs there.
Okay, what's your objectivity?
I think the GameCube controller is unique. It's not for everyone, but it's still like it's an enduring controller. People still use them today for Smash and like certain other games. Like you can still plug it into the Switch, and certain games have unique features on the GameCube controller, like with the analog triggers and everything. It was like kind of a first and last for Nintendo there. But I think the main reason I think the GameCube belongs in S is that like this is the console where they crystallized like the formula of like so many of like beloved Nintendo franchises now. Like this was the system where like Mario Kart Double Dash came out, and it kind of like 64 Mario Kart 64 like didn't really feel like modern Mario Kart in a lot of ways, where Double Dash does. And the same can be said with Smash. Like Smash 64 is kind of weird and different, but Melee has kind of endured as like the classic Smash game. It was like one of the systems that helped like bring Fire Emblem to like home consoles, and like it didn't sell here well at the time, but now like Radiant Dawn is considered like a classic. The Paper Mario games on the system are legendary. Like they're still remaking and remastering those games. Like I just think that like so much of like Nintendo's modern identity was born on that system. And like it did so much to like perfect and kind of crystallize what the N64 had done. And like sure it like, and that's not to say the console doesn't have its problems, but like right now it's incredibly expensive to collect for. The controller, if you don't like it, is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
It's the only system of that generation without DVD, but also the games it does play, it runs better than the PS2.
I think the discs are more durable than
The discs are
DVD
more
games,
durable,
right?
and I think of every console ever made, it might be the most durable. Like my fucking GameCube fell out of a car, God knows how many times, and it still runs like no fucking problem. Plus you got the Game Boy player for it. And with a Game Boy player, you could play Game Boy games on your television. And because of like all of the way that data saves on the Game Boy carts, you could just move it back and forth. I just think it's a great system. But like I don't know, not a perfect one, but I just think there's so many games here that like just set like what the future of Nintendo is. Even like Twilight Princess, like that was our first hint of modern Zelda, and that was also a Wii launch title. But
My thing with the GameCube, because I didn't have one as a kid. I had one for a little bit as a teenager, but as a kid, I had two friends who did have one. So I did play a lot of GameCube at their house. It is that controller. Like for games that it's built around, it's cool, it works. For games that it wasn't built around, it's fucking awful. Like I hated playing like any like non-Nintendo platformer on it. I hated playing racing games on it that weren't Mario Kart. I hate the D-pad placement. I hate the C-stick placement. I really don't like the triggers on it at all. I hate that they click in when you push down on them.
I really like those triggers.
I do not like the triggers. As a kid, I was like a full-blown like GameCube hater kid. But I've grown up to see like the value in it. A lot of the games that were exclusive to it are great. I love Eternal Darkness. I love Metroid Prime.
Those triggers were, I think, the first analog triggers.
Yeah, for analog games, it's great. For any other game, it's not.
I mean, all triggers in modern games besides Nintendo systems are analog now.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing it, like this was like
I think because then they felt really floaty. Like I don't like how floaty the triggers feel. I feel
they do feel a little floaty.
In my mind, they took longer to push down than a lot of other controllers. Because the Xbox,
they are a little floaty.
The original Xbox ones are analog also, but they don't feel as like as spread across. Like the Xbox ones are like that. The GameCube ones, in my mind, feel like that. You know?
Yeah, they're more up and down. Like there's less of an arc. I do think it still feels better than the Xbox triggers though.
In my mind, GameCube to me is a B. So do you want to meet in the middle at A?
A B? That feels criminal.
I'm not a GameCube lover.
I just think it has a better catalog than anything else we've ranked so far.
I don't.
Besides maybe PS2.
I think PS2 as a bet. I do.
Maybe Game Boy.
I don't know. That GameCube does have a lot of cool. I need to look at a list. Hold on.
I think it's just the games, and so you're talking about how like the controller feels not great for games that aren't exclusive to or games that weren't designed for it. But I think most of the great like GameCube games are like designed for the GameCube, right?
There's a game called Obama. Oh, Odama.
Odama's a hit.
Oh, have you played this game? Universal
No.
Studios theme park. Do you know what this game is?
No, I have no idea.
You're gonna find out later. It sucks.
I don't know. Like the Mario Party games on that system are iconic. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour is the best Mario Golf. Mario Kart Double Dash like invented modern Mario Kart. Donkey Konga is like still a great rhythm game that people like come back to.
Not Donkey. What was the Donkey Kong platform that you played on the bongos? Because I
Yeah, that one's not so great.
I had that.
The
game.
rhythm game is fun. The platform one sucks. Geist is like super unique.
Yeah, Geist is cool. I forgot Rogue Squadron was on there. Rogue Squadron's really fun.
Yeah, Chibi Robo is like one of Nintendo's most like unique exclusives. Really like just a weird but neat game.
Oh, it has F-Zero GX. I love F-Zero GX.
Yeah, Mario Superstar Baseball is like the best Mario baseball game.
Okay.
Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes is like one of the best like Metal Gear games. It's like a super interesting like remake-ish.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, there's just so much. The Star Fox games are pretty fun on there. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Coliseum are really neat.
Coliseum's like it's like a ridiculous amount of money to buy now.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's super
fucking
super
Pokemon shit
now.
is so expensive. And everyone had it too. I don't know why those games are so expensive. Everyone had like Pokemon Emerald, but I think it's still like fucking $70 now.
Pokemon Emerald? Oh,
yeah,
you mean
on GBA? Just Pokemon shit in general is so expensive for something that everyone had.
I think it's just like nostalgia. Yeah. There's a lot of demand for it. A lot more people are gamers now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Phantasy Star Online was good on GameCube. Like, there's just a lot of games that I think like are fantastic.
I want to peek over at the original Xbox exclusives because I had a brain fart, but I need to go through and like see which ones on here that I'm like really remembering. Because I remember Amped 2 was really fun. The first Buffy game was lit. Blinks 2 specifically is really fun. Did you ever play the second one?
I haven't.
That one's like 2-player co-op, so you could play basically
cool.
the entirety of like a Blinks the Time Sweeper game, but with 2 people. It's really fun. Carve was really fun. It was like a jet ski game. Crimson Skies is. Have you played Crimson Skies?
Yeah, it's okay.
That game's cool.
I don't love it, to be honest, but I get why people like it.
I like it better than like it's really similar to Rogue Squadron, but I prefer Crimson Skies.
I think my thing is just that on PS2 they had was it Ace Combat? Yeah, I think those games are just Ace like Combat, those are such good flight games that like it's hard to compete.
Have you played Fusion Frenzy? That's
we've played that before.
It's like G4 Mario Party.
It's like Mario Party at home. Yeah,
it's great. It's lit. Oh, Jet Set Radio Future. That's lit.
Yeah, that game's neat.
That one's lit. I'm like in my mind. There's all these great. Have you played Loons: The Fight for Fame?
Actually, you know what? I did play it.
I just awoke a memory. Oh, there's Mad Dash Racing.
Mad Dash Racing is pretty good.
I feel like the original Xbox kind of like the unsung hero. Like there are like some of these games I'm being ironic about. Like Fusion Frenzy's like not great. But
I feel like there's a lot of these games that are like they feel really novel.
Panzer Dragoon,
but they're not.
We had some like weird stuff on there. Panzer Dragoon's there. Project Gotham Racing 2 is amazing.
Shin Megami Tensei 9.
Wait, we got a Shin Megami Tensei game?
Yeah, I don't know much about 9.
We gotta find how much do you think it is?
I don't know. I wonder if it even came out here.
Right now.
I don't know if it even came out here.
Shin Megami. $54. Oh, it isn't. It's an import. Yeah.
Yeah. Unsurprising.
We did get a couple Japanese.
Yeah, there was a couple
strange ones. Have you played Sneakers? It's really bad.
I think one of my friends was playing it. I think Dylan or Eli was on the Sneakers grind a little bit. I think getting Unreal Championship was neat.
Yeah, Unreal Championship is cool.
I don't know. Like a lot of the Xbox exclusives to me now like feel like more like oddities and novelties. They do.
They're strange and of their
like
time,
enduring classics.
To me, they're strange and of their time, but it's because like nobody talks about Quantum Redshift. But Quantum Redshift, like if this game was on GameCube, people would talk about it. It was like a Wipeout style.
I've played a little bit. I agree with that. I think it would be more remembered.
That's my thing with GameCube or with Xbox is like if Project Gotham Racing came out on other consoles, it would be. I think it would be considered one of the best of the generation.
I think it is like considered a good game by a lot of people.
Yeah, by like a good game. a lot of it's just like it was mostly Halo on the original Xbox.
Yeah, and I mean the Halo games are great.
They are great. No, don't get me wrong. I love old Halo, but Xbox has a lot of gems that are just like kind of forgotten to time a bit. I feel like the Xbox the same way a lot of Sega fans feel about the Saturn.
Yeah,
that's how I kind of feel about the Xbox.
I think that's like my main case for the GameCube above everything else is just like a lot of the games that came out and were defining games for that console, like are still kind of around in some form. I
like some of the GameCube exclusives, but I like a lot of the Xbox exclusives too. I think objectively to me they're both like equal ground. But
I think that's crazy, but we can continue.
Oh, all right. What about the Wii?
Wii, like
Yeah. I have a lot of fun memories of the Wii, but it's hard to want to go.
I agree with that, but I think there's a lot of great games on it that have like been ported up now that are like a little bit more fun to play without all the motion stuff.
Yeah.
I also think that like very few consoles try to do something as radically different as the Wii did.
It was a phenomenon. Everyone had a fucking Wii.
Everyone had a Wii. It did something really unique with the motion controls, and it managed to take like a lot of like core Nintendo games and make them work on that platform pretty well. You also got full GameCube backwards support, which is like nice. It was still in that era where like backwards compatibility wasn't like super rare, but you know, still nice to have it. I think all the Wii channels and stuff were really unique at the time. It was one of the first systems you could watch Netflix at home on. Yeah, I think the Wii is great, to be honest.
Yeah, the Wii's a lot of fun memories. What were some of your favorite Wii games? What are Wii games that you would love to go back to now? Like still, like you're willing to put up with some of the Wii.
Are we disincluding stuff that's been ported? Because it's like I love Twilight Princess, but I would play Twilight Princess HD probably.
Yeah, no, like think about like going back to core Wii. Like what could you play like in a game in its entirety? I think I could play No More Heroes in its entirety on the Wii probably.
I think I could play Twilight Princess. I would probably pick the Wii U or the GameCube version over it for a number of reasons. But it's not the controls. It's just like the Wii mirrored that game. Everything was literally like flipped on a mirror.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah, I like Wii Sports.
I'll
Wii
go back
Sports
to
Resort.
Wii Sports Resort.
Xenoblade Chronicles is like an all-timer.
I've never played Xenoblade. That's Shulk, right?
Yeah. It's been ported, and the port is definitely the way to play it. I think that's the thing. I think a lot of the best Wii games have made their way off the Wii.
And they know now that, hey, maybe people don't always want to be waggling their fucking controller and just put it on a button. That's what they do, right? Like I can't imagine playing No More Heroes on a controller, but do you just like flick the thumbstick basically?
It depends on the game.
Some
of them they just replaced it so it's like on a button.
Okay.
Some of them it's like a control stick. Skyward Sword is I think the most like kind of interesting port because what they did is you can use the Switch controller and like get the full motion. Or you can like hold one of the buttons and then your right stick turns into the arm. So it's basically doing like Metal Gear Revengeance.
That was a Wii Motion Plus thing, right? Like you had to have the
it was a Wii Motion Plus thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of what was great about Wii made its way forward to later consoles.
I'm trying to think what's left that hasn't been ported. Okay, both Wii Sports, those haven't been ported.
No, you can play. There is like a Nintendo Switch Sports.
Yeah, it's not.
Game.
Yeah.
It's not the same. But
we're talking about WarioWare. Has it made its way over?
WarioWare hasn't made its way over.
That's a good one.
Smooth Moves is
honestly,
great.
I do still really like the port of Resident Evil 4 on the Wii. Like surprisingly enough, I feel like that is one of
that's another great GameCube game too.
Yeah, that is a good GameCube game. Have you played it on Wii though?
Barely.
It's
like I never owned it on Wii.
It's weirdly fun. Like I went back to it a couple years ago thinking like, oh, this is funny. Like, you know, fucking I think I just played Assassin's Creed Black
think it
Flag
like
on
works.
Wii U. It does. It works great. It feels great on Wii. I played a lot of the Call of Duties on Wii.
I think that's the thing. I think like the Wii gets some hate now, but I also like I do think it was a great system.
I had a lot of fun with my Wii. It just in my mind it's like a children's toy. But I know that's not true. Like
I mean, it kind of is a little.
Yeah. Like I think when I think about the Wii, I don't think about the good games. I think about all the fucking terrible games that came out on that.
There's
thing.
also it's like I think it was lacking some franchise, right? Like wasn't there no Pokemon games on the Wii?
No Pokemon, no No Metroid. Oh no, it had
Yeah.
Other M, but nobody liked Other
I mean,
M.
so not to plug my new Pokemon Snap video coming out probably the same week this video, but or last week, but like I think the GameCube was kind of the death knell for like weird Pokemon console games. Unfortunately, which are some of my favorite. I do think the Wii had a weaker catalog than the GameCube.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's iconic, and it took a risk that paid off, which we don't really see ever anymore. The Wii U F, right?
I hate the Wii
Our
U.
first F.
I mean, there are games I like. I thought Nintendo Land was
There's
fun,
games I
but
like for it, but all the games I like for it, I'd rather play somewhere else.
literally anywhere else.
Like the only thing that I think is cool about it is that if you mod it, you can play DS games.
Yeah. Which is a cool way to play DS, but you like I remember I came home I had a concert performance cuz I was in like band and stuff as a kid. And I came home and my dad's like, "Look what we got." And it was a Wii U, and even as like a 14-year-old, I was like, "Oh, cool." Thanks.
I remember
Like,
I remember not knowing if I should be excited for it when it got announced.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was a gamer as a kid. I watched E3 every year on G4 and shit like that. And I remember they announced the Wii U, and I didn't know if it was a new console or if it was an add-on or what.
Yeah.
Like I was so confused
That's
by
a lot
it.
of the reason why it flopped. Nobody knew what it was.
Nobody knew what it was, and then when people did figure out what it was, there was nothing to offer.
Yeah.
And there's some great games on there. Like Xenoblade Chronicles X is, thank God getting a port now. But that's like, I think it's still the biggest open world in a video game, and it's not empty, and it's really well designed and stuff like that. There are gems on that system, but yeah, I don't know. It's just not.
Like it's not comfortable.
not
It's
good
not fun
hardware.
to play on. Like just playing on like that. The fucking control pad only had like 4 hours of battery.
Yeah, the control pad didn't have enough battery, so you play with it plugged in half the time. And then buying the Pro controller was like, you could do it, and I guess it's the same thing on Switch where it's like you can spend $60 on this other thing, and like it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Aren't the thumbsticks on top
But-
and the button and D-pad on the bottom?
I actually like that about it.
Really?
I liked the way that felt. And they do that on the Pro controller too. And I actually kind of missed that. That's how the Steam Deck is laid out too.
On like a tablet, it makes sense, but on a controller, I don't know if it does.
I think it felt really good for shooters. And like games where like you're primarily focusing on the thumbstick.
Yeah, I guess a shooter would make sense.
Yeah, I thought it was fairly comfy. It's one of the things I wish other controllers would try, actually. But like, I don't know. The Wii U just like, it wasn't great hardware. And buying that Pro controller felt like a punch in the balls with like how crappy a lot of the other stuff ran. I think the other problem was it was a fucking Wii with like. Do you know about how like the internals of the Wii worked?
A bit, yeah.
So basically, the Wii was like a GameCube and a half, and the Wii U was just 3 GameCubes.
Yeah.
And like it just didn't compete with other systems in that generation power
I
wise.
think by that point, even the 360 and the PS3 were still more powerful than it, right?
Yes. Yeah, so that was a problem. It's like the PS3 and 360 ran things better than it did. It never sold enough to get proper support. And like the Switch might be weaker and people kind of clown on the Switch's power, but the Switch at least like has like a gimmick that's worth having. And like it's at least like a fully portable system.
Switch also has the library to back it.
Yeah, so it's like the Wii U is just the worst case scenario all around, I think. Which is, why it's an F. I don't think either of us have any real debate over that.
I don't like the Wii U.